Welcome to Miss Taylor's class videos. Today we're going to talk about combining like terms. So we're going to talk about our constant terms first, because those are the easiest ones for us to find, and those are our numbers without letters, without variables. So they are just numbers, and they are all by themselves. Now we're going to talk about our variable terms. So I'm going to group our variable terms based on the variable. So I'm going to put 4x next to the other x term, which is negative 6x. And then I'm going to put 3y, negative 3y, next to my other y, which is a positive 17y. And then finally, I'm going to put negative z, which remember, if we don't have a number in front, we put that invisible 1 right there, and then plus 5z. And then at the end, I'm just going to tack on all of my constants. That's a plus. And so we've grouped them this way so they're easier to see, so that when we combine them, the math gets a lot easier. So I'm just going to use the signs I have. 4 minus 6 is going to be a negative 2x. A negative 3 plus 17 is going to become a positive 14y. A negative 1 plus 5 is going to become a positive 4. And then I'm just going to do 7 plus 4 is 11. Minus 15 is negative 4, minus 8 is going to be negative 12. So when we combine like terms, that's all we're doing, is we're taking the signs of the terms that are the same and doing the math that's in front of us. So our definition for like terms is going to be any term with the same variable or without a variable. So now let's look at some problems and look at how we might solve problems with like terms. So the first thing that I'm always going to do is I'm always going to draw a line down that equal sign. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at 1/2 of my equation at a time. So the first thing I'm just going to look at is I'm going to look at 18 minus 4. They are both constants. I do not have a variable, so I can just go ahead and do 18 minus 4, which is a positive 14. So now we're going to look at the left side, and I'm going to find my like terms, which are 2 and 3x. So 2 plus 3 is going to be 5x, and since 6 does not have any like terms, we're just going to bring that negative 6 down. And so now we can solve it like we normally have been. So we can add 6 to both sides, because to cross our line that we drew down the middle, we have to flip the sign or do the opposite math operation. So 5x equals 14 plus 6 is 20. And then we need to divide by our coefficient to get x all by itself. And so x is going to equal 4. So now we're going to go to our next problem. Again, we're going to draw that line, because that line tells me to cross it, I have to do the opposite operation. Whereas if I'm on the same side, I just do what the signs tell me. So again, there's no number there, so I have my invisible 1. So 1x plus 1x becomes 2x, and then we bring down that negative 5. There are no like terms on the right side, so we're just going to rewrite what was given to us. So now I need to move my x terms to the same side. So I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 1x. And again, if you need to write that 1, write that 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1x. I'm just going to leave it as x, but if you need to write that 1, write that 1. Bring down my minus 5, less than or equal to negative 4, because my 1x is canceled. And now we need our constants on the same side. So I'm going to switch the sign of my 5. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So x is going to be less than or equal to, and negative 4 plus 5 is 1. So our possible solutions are any number that is less than or equal to 1. So 1 can be a solution, 0 can be a solution, negative 200 can be a solution. All right, again, we draw that line on our equal sign. So I've got like terms on this side. I've got a 1x and a 3x. So 1 plus 3 becomes 4x. And I bring down my plus 5. We look at the other side. None of them are like terms, so we're just going to write it down as it looks. So now, again, I need to bring all of my x's to one side. So I'm going to switch the sign of my 2x. What I do to one side, I do the other. 4 plus 2 is 6x plus 5, and then I'm going to bring down my negative 13. So here I need to move my constants to the same side, so I'm going to flip the sign of my constant, flip this, what I do to one side, I do to the other, bring down my 6x, and a negative minus means that we're going to put a negative down and combine them for, oh, it's supposed to be an 18. It's one of those mornings, guys. And then finally, I'm going to divide by my coefficient, which is the number in front of the letter. And so x is going to equal negative 3. All right, our last problem here. So I'm going to find my like terms on this side. Negative 8 and negative 8, they do not cancel out because they're both negative. It's going to stay negative, and I'm going to add them together, and then I'm going to bring down my negative 4x. Here on this side, I've got 2 variable terms. So 3 minus 1 becomes 2x, and I'm going to bring down that positive 2. I'm going to combine my variable terms. So I'm going to add 4x to both sides because I have to do the opposite to cross the line. So we get 6x. I'm going to bring down my negative 16, bring down my positive 2. Now I need to combine my constant terms. So we're going to subtract 2. Those two cancel. I'm left with a negative 18 equals 6x. And then my final step is going to be to divide by my coefficient. And so x is going to equal negative 3. And that is how we combine like terms and then solve equations.